Hello everybody, welcome to another fine solo rambling video from Roulette Productions. Now today we're going to keep things a little simple and we're going to focus on a basic rundown of Nintendo's big franchise players. The reason why is because I've done a pretty good chain so far of video game related type videos, and frankly, while yes, my first system was an Atari, I do have very fond memories of Pitfall and Miss Pac-Man. I did really embrace video gaming as something that I love doing with the NES, and I've always maintained a primary relationship with Nintendo when it comes to gaming. Yes, I do have PC games, many of which I have played quite fondly. Yes, I have enjoyed games and hardware from Sega and Sony. Not so much Xbox. Sorry, Microsoft. You guys are just a distant third. You're like late era Jaguar Atari. It's just, I mean, more credit to you for trying, but I just don't want to play Halo. But anyway, so as I said, because I've always had a thing for Nintendo, both in consoles and portable format, I am very much happy to humble brag that I've had every iteration of Nintendo Portable Console. And in fact, I still have a working original Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance SP, along with my 3DS. Yeah, half fib, I technically don't have a 2DS, but since the 2DS is a modified 3DS, kind of like the original Game Boy had like the Game Boy Micro and the Advance and the Advance SP, were just different iterations of the same hardware. Like with consoles, we now have the Xbox One and the Xbox One S and the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro. I'm not really counting those. If you want to be super anal over 10 of OCD hardcore collector, yes, I never had those particular hardwares, but the main generations I did have. So, along with the DS, I do also have the standard DS in storage that preceded 3DS. I did forget about that briefly. It's a little late in the day, but I'm going to try to keep my brain functioning until we can get through this video, which is what I wanted to say. So yes, because Nintendo is what I'm most familiar with, I'm going to shoot through Nintendo major franchise players, which we're going to do right now. No more stalling. So let's start with the king of the castle, the man who rebuilt an industry, everybody's favorite Italian plumber, Mario. Now, I'm sorry, but if you like video games, given the core series, which is really kind of like, at this point, two different core series, because you have the new series, which is your classic 2D platforming, and then you have the 3D style, which is currently top represented by Mario Odyssey. That, that's a thing. But even aside from that, you have the Mario Parties, you have the Mario Karts, you have a ton of Mario sports games. Baseball, golf, tennis, there was that sports mix game where they threw in a bunch of other ones like dodgeball and hockey, or basketball, Mario Hoops, I think there was a couple soccers. But yeah, the point is that you really can't find somebody who enjoys playing video games that doesn't have at least one Mario game they enjoy. And while yes, you can certainly find Mario games that are in a genre that just doesn't appeal to you, if you like the genre, the Mario games tend to be very excellent representations of that genre. I mean, let's be honest. You spend the next few minutes after you finish watching this video, of course. Please don't stop watching the video now. But after the video, go spend the next few minutes looking at how many kart-based racing games have come out since Mario Kart hit big. And it's pretty staggering, which is the main point. So, yeah. Personally, I love Mario Kart. I enjoy the Mario Party games with the right people to play with, though, like many older hardcore gamers, the whole thing about free stars and the inherent luck of the dice roll system that is built into any board game, and the fact that you have to be good at the mini games on top of getting good dice rolls and hoping that the bonus stars they give out don't counter work against you too often, keeps me from being 100% into the Mario Party games. But that's just me. They are very well constructed party games, I will say that. As I said, with the right group of people, where I'm not feeling competitive at all, I enjoy playing the games. The main series, I'll be honest, I never really embraced the 3D games. Some classic franchises made a wonderful transition to 3D. I'm going to discuss those later. But to me, whether it's Mario 64, Sunshine, the Galaxies, Mario Odyssey, they're the Mario 3D World, while they're very well constructed games and they are fun to play, the whole 3D objectives, collect star, shine system just does not click for me personally. I very much prefer the current new Super Mario series. It's just hits all the nostalgia buttons just right for me, while still introducing a couple new mechanics. So, you know, go with what works for you. Play them both if you like both. Now, I did mention games that transitioned to 3D beautifully, and in fact became better than ever in 3D on many, many ways. Which brings us to, I think you're all going to guess now if you are Nintendo players of a long time, the Legend of Zelda series. This is just, they're brilliant games. It is the ultimate representation of dungeon crawling, puzzle, action, side quest element. There's a collecting aspect to it, but unlike a lot of the 3D platformers, like those god awful last couple Donkey Kong Country games, fun to play, but the scavenger hunt completionist OCD rating is off the scale. The thing with Zelda is, yes, it's always fun to get more heart pieces, especially when it's for doing things that also help explain more of the backstory and personality of your side character NPCs, which in turn makes the world you're playing in feel more real. If you've never played a Zelda game before, I'm going to make it very simple for you. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, which was the last of the major 2D releases, and personally is my all-time favorite, though Ocarina of Time is an extremely close second. It's just, to me, I feel like Link to the Past, because it was in that era where there was not a lot of FMV story building type sequences to it, like you have an Ocarina where you have to just watch characters talking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, back and forth and 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 back and forth. 3 more minutes later, you can actually start playing the game again. Since there's a lot less of that in Link to the Past, yes, there's a lot of dialogue compared to something like Mario, but it's still a lot less so than you get in later Zelda games. I just feel Link to the Past is more of a keep the pace going, get to this dungeon, get to that dungeon, go find this item, heart piece, heart piece, heart piece, pace of playing that really keeps you excited. But yes, play Link to the Past. Play Ocarina of Time. If you are a story, character-driven game type person, play Majora's Mask. It is kind of an odd game because it is extremely side quest heavy. The main core minimum you have to do to beat the game is actually not much at all. But the side quest stuff and the side characters are incredible. Twilight Princess is great for the older gamers that want a serious story that feels like there's dramatic consequences and a real threat to the invasion hitting Hyrule. After that, I mean, to me, that's the top tier. After that, you get into things like Wind Waker, Skyward Sword. I know a lot of people just love Breath of the Wild. It's the new hotness. I'm still getting deep enough in the game to make 100% play for it. But again, kind of like I said with Link to the Past, where I do like my games, if they're not straight up full-blown RPGs, to have a steady pace, objective feel to them, like you got more with Link to the Past. Breath of the Wild has more of a open world, take your sweet time pace to it in a lot of places, and that just, it kind of messes with my brain a little bit at times. So, up next, we're actually going to go back a little bit backwards. I did briefly mention him earlier, Donkey Kong. The original Donkey Kong game, literally the game that built Nintendo. I also, being a little bit controversial, prefer Donkey Kong Jr. I feel like the whole vine climbing mechanic is just so much more fun than the climb ladder, bounce over barrel aspect of the original Donkey Kong. Donkey Kong Country games. The first one of the best Super Nintendo games ever made, and thus always in contention for one of the best video games ever made, because, let's be honest, the Super Nintendo was an incredible system with an extensive library that just seems to get better the farther you dig into it. The second Donkey Kong Country game, wonderful follow-up sequel, Donkey Kong Country 3. Okay, here's where we start getting into a lot of that scavenger hunt OCD nonsense I talked about. The fact that both Donkey and Diddy, who were your protagonists of the first game, are now both kidnapped and off the board as playable characters. Even as post-game content, you're not touching them. It just, that is just so weird to me. It feels off. Donkey Kong 64 has got some great individual levels, didn't quite click with me. Again, they introduced a lot of new playable Kong characters, and I feel like that's one of the flaws that the Donkey Kong Country series fell into, was that they kept throwing more and more playable characters at you and getting further away from it being Donkey Kong retaining his throne as King of the Jungle and perhaps the only video game character that could stand toe-to-toe with Mario on a pure legacy level. So where do we go from here? Let's see. We've done Mario, we've done Link, we've done Donkey Kong. Oh, how about some Metroid? I know, everybody's talking because Metroid is getting another new game. These do not come out as often as Mario. They don't even come out as often as Zelda. The original Metroid game, really creepy. Had a wonderful vibe going to it, set the standard, excellent foundation to build a franchise on. Metroid 2 Return of Samus, I'll be honest, the monochrome nature of the original Game Boy and the lack of map really hurt this game. It is still an incredible game, but in a lot of ways, it feels very contradictory to the idea of a portable game series or a portable game for a portable system would probably be the most logical way to say that phrase. But for a game on a portable system that you can pick up and take with you on the go and put down when you've gotten to your destination, it doesn't quite feel right. Because you really have to have an internal map in your head that cannot be color coded for ease of use, the game suffers if you're not blasting through it in one big long speed run. Not even speed run, just one long play. If you set it down, come back to it a few days later, it's going to be really hard to remember where you've already been and where you need to go next. Fortunately, the recent 3DS remake resolved those two real flaws. From there, Super Metroid. I'll be honest, in my opinion, the best game on the Super Nintendo. And again, potentially the best Metroid game ever made. I would say it's a toss-up between it and the original Metroid Prime. The Prime trilogy, by and large, excellent. I didn't like Prime 2, the whole Light World, Dark World mechanic. It was just, it felt like it kept pulling me out of my game immersion because I kept having to stop and think through the puzzle elements too much. Metroid, to me, has always been about immersing yourself into that creepy, tense, suspenseful world. Metroid Prime 3 brought it back. I liked Fusion. I felt like it brought things back to a 2D based way of playing that added a new major mechanic while still respecting what made Metroid great. Feels a lot like Super Metroid. Other M is the love it or hate it black sheep of the Metroid franchise. Personally, I don't mind the game. I do think it is, all things considered, probably the weakest game in the series, either that or Prime 2. I see why people have a lot of complaints about it from a story and characterization perspective, but again, the game had some really interesting ideas about mechanics, and it does a good job of, in a lot of places, immersing you in a very suspenseful, tense situation. Look, I love Samus Aran as a character. Samus Aran is my all in all the Smash games. Going back to the original, I've always mained Samus Aran. So, I'm always going to be excited to hear there's more Metroid. I love that they take their time, by and large, making Metroid games, because it shows they want the games to be made high quality. And they don't want to make a Metroid game just to make a Metroid game. They want to make a Metroid game when they have a good reason to make a Metroid game. So from here, we have Kirby. The little pink fluff ball that by all rights should not have been a major franchise player. I started with Kirby's Dream Land 2, and while I thoroughly enjoyed the game, at the time I was playing it, I didn't feel like this is a character that 20 years later I'm still going to get excited about playing new games with. I love Kirby's Dream Land, Dream Land 2, Dream Land 3, Kirby 64. Again, this is a game that, like some of the stuff we've talked before, it gets a little too overboard with the new mechanics. You've got the Kirby Yarn, you've got the Kirby Rainbows, you've got Kirby Robot, Kirby triple play. It's like every new Kirby game now has a distinct gimmick with a insane new mechanic that individually works brilliantly for that game. But when you see it as part of a larger franchise, it feels like a bunch of that the franchise is a bunch of individualized cubicles that never get to interact with each other. It's like a bunch of like-minded office drones named Kirby, all sitting in their own little cubicles, never thinking about how they're all supposed to fit in the greater corporate structure of the company. That is the Kirby franchise. But he's a very lovable character, and the games are pretty much always incredibly well made, so there is a forgiveness factor. Alright, we're getting a little long-winded here. Really, I don't know how people online do like 10, 12-minute videos. I'm trying really hard, folks, but it's... maybe I just don't talk rapidly enough. I need to work on that. Maybe I just like picking subjects that are too broad. But we're going to finish it up real quick here because I'm right about at 20 minutes, 21 minutes. So, the last big one. This is one I'm probably going to have to do a really in-depth video on, but I'm going to touch this top layer of it here, Pokemon. Pokemon was kind of a late player into the franchise game. It didn't start until the end days of the original Game Boy. And except for this most recent game that was announced on the Switch, the core franchise, yes, there's spin-offs, but I'm speaking of the core franchise here, folks, has always been on portable. Since the Switch is kind of a hybrid console portable system, I understand why they finally put a core Pokemon game on a franchise, on a major, essentially console system, since you can switch the Switch, that's the name, into portable mode. I love the base idea of Pokemon. Alright? I have got multiple Pokemon games. I play them and I replay them. They're a fun game to go back to. There's a lot of replayability because you can construct your active party in so many different ways. Evolve your Pokemon, don't evolve your Pokemon. Just... there's thousands of party combinations you can do, even in the early generations when there was only a couple hundred Pokemon. Now, I mean, I'd have to check what Shield and Sword are going to do, but we're up to like 800 plus Pokemon. We're rapidly going to hit the point where Pokemon is now in the 1,000 plus mark. And that's really kind of weird. But, I mean, because, again, when I played the first game, it was a fun game. I did not expect it to keep going. It's just, there's something about the games that is so primal when it comes to gamers. Just, the games, I'll be honest, for the core series, I did give up a few generations ago. I just, after Platinum, I felt like storyline-wise, because the stories have always been important to me, as a writer, as somebody who needs that story immersion, and prefers it to be consistent when I play RPGs, which the Pokemon series, at their core, they are RPGs. It got to the point where I felt like there was nowhere to go after Platinum. You found the Pokemon God and the Pokemon Devil. You captured them in Pokeballs. Is there really anywhere else you're supposed to go from there? There is no next level. That and the whole thing with Pokemon Sun and Moon, with the color variant Pokemons, I'm sorry, to me that was a cheap cop-out. That was a cheap cop-out to make it seem like there was more newness to the franchise than there was. But, look, if you haven't played the game since the first generation, if you're brand new to video gaming, get the Switch. play Pokemon Sword and Shield, or just Sword or just Shield. The two-game mechanic is, again, that is definitely going to be a dangerous ideas rant, because that's something that does get my dander up. And I know I've been doing a lot of positive reviews. For those of you who like seeing people online rant and rage and scream and get just verbally abusive to things, look, I'm going to hit that point eventually, but I want to make it clear that this channel is never going to be 100% about negativity. It's about the fandom. And all of these games, and Nintendo as a whole, is about the fans. These games have survived sequel after 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 sequel. Okay, I could do that for another 10 minutes. Because they are generally extremely well-made games. Now, I'm going to throw out real quick honorary mention to some third-party franchises that built their audience on Nintendo before moving to other systems. And that is Mega Man, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, again, games that over the last couple years there's been a lot of talk about. Castlevania did a wonderful timeline reboot recently with their last few games. They've got a Netflix series that is just, oh my god. Like, seriously, if you are of a age where you can watch PG-13 rated R type stuff, watch the Castlevania Netflix show. It is incredible. The first 2 seasons only total 12 30-minute episodes, so it does not take that long at all to marathon it. Please, please feel free to hit up social media about how much you like it, because if there's any series in all of television, whether cable or streaming, that needs a third, if not a fourth season. I mean, some like over in England, I think they call them series instead of seasons, or they do it with a few shows. Somewhere in Europe does that. But either way, Castlevania should continue. We need more than those 12 episodes, because they adapt it so well. Mega Man had the recent Mega Man 11, did wonderfully. It's an incredible game. Final Fantasy, of course, everybody knows Final Fantasy VII HD Remaster. That is definitely a rant for another time, but these were all systems that started on Nintendo. Made their name on Nintendo, but because they were third party, they were never sworn to Nintendo. So, I know you're a teenager or college, or like me, you've been well out of college for a while, definitely adult. Nintendo is the all-ages, kid-friendly company, but please, don't obsess with that. I've got to be dark and edgy and gore-tastic mindset. You can have those games, trust me. Look, I've got Tekken on there. I've got Doom and Heretic and other similar type games on my Steam library. I get it. Occasionally you need those games once you get old enough to understand it, and that's fine, but don't dedicate yourself 100% to serious drama, realistic violence, and for God's sakes, not the adult situations. One day, I am definitely going to do a long video rant about sex and fan service in video games. Maybe I'll have somebody come in with me. I certainly invite anybody that follows us at rouletteproductions.com or follows us on Twitter or even wants to contact on YouTube that is interested in doing a back and forth pros and cons debate style thing with me, to hit me up, because that is a kind of situation where you do want to have more than one voice in on the debate. For now, I've hit the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to shut up. I did what I set out to do, which is give you a brief foray into what first-party Nintendo franchise characters are like, and a little bit of a hint of why I like pretty much all those franchises and why I stay loyal to Nintendo. First and foremost, I will stray from them, as I've said before on occasion, but I'll always default to Nintendo. God bless you, Nintendo, for so many years of wonderful video gaming memories that continue to go on. And I did briefly mention Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers is a great crossover game. I'm probably going to need to do another series on crossover games. They are very much their own beast. For now, though, peace out, people. Enjoy your times. Enjoy your life, because you only get one of them. Okay, I mean, it's reincarnation. I'm not trying to pick on reincarnationists, but since you never know if you're going to come back as a human or an animal, let's just, for the sake of safety, assume you only got the one life. Make the most of it. Don't hate just to hate. Have fun. Come back next Friday for another rambling good time. I'm your host, David. As I said before, check out rouletteproductions.com. Check us out on @DangerReporter, @DavidHorden. Check out the rest of the videos on this channel. Check out my partner Twitch stream, blah blah blah, which you can always find references to at the Twitter handle @DangerReporter. I'm out.